Forrest instantly reacted, as if hearing Jenny's call, and dashed off, leaving all behind, surpassing his comrades. He darted out of the enemy fire zone, but when he turned around, lo and behold, Babu was MIA, so Forrest heroically retraced his steps to look for him. On the road, he heard comrades screaming, saw a bloody man missing an arm and leg, but Forrest wouldn't abandon them. One by one, Forrest saved them. Even Lieutenant Dan, yelling for artillery cover, was reluctantly carried by him, despite a bite. Subtitles: He never ceased his journey, as Forrest Gump once again sprinted to find Bubba, his heart actually filled with anxiety. However, upon returning, he discovered that Bubba was already in a desperate situation. Those last words spoken before death remained etched in Forrest's memory forever. Forrest suffered an injury to his buttocks, yet he found happiness that extended far beyond just ice cream. Only later did he know the bite was from a bullet, yet Forrest found life sweet with endless ice cream. Lieutenant Dan, now legless, wallowed in despair. At this point, Forrest got a pile of letters thinking they were from Jenny. Upon closer look, they are all from the post office, since Jenny had no fixed address, like a wandering circus. During recovery at the hospital, a buddy's joke led Forrest to unexpectedly discover his hidden ping-pong talent. He picked it up like a pro, earning his comrades' accolades at lightning speed, later losing interest in stopping, but became a ping-pong god in their eyes. That night, as Forrest Gump was peacefully fast asleep, he was about to be pulled out of bed by Lieutenant Dan, who bitterly complained that Forrest had made him survive against his fate, exclaiming, "GC, do you know? Can you even use your feet?" Dan asked coldly, to which Forrest cheekily replied, "Yep, I know. Did you hear what I said? He let me live, and now I'm stuck dealing with a fate that should have left me dead out in the wild. Dignity was part of my fate." Dan continued his rant. "You let me live. Destiny's got a warped sense of humor." He never expected Forrest's arrival was fate's design, his pain, just from rejecting leg loss. "Hey, I'm the sanitation chief, Dan Taylor. You'll always be Lieutenant Dan." The next day, Forrest learned he had been awarded a Medal of Honor and wanted to share the news with Dan, only to discover he had been whisked away. Back home, Forrest received the medal personally from the president and felt like a cartoon character basking in warm greetings. Subtitles: Forrest Gump should have faced all these with a smile, yet he only felt surprised, and despite his inner unease, he still fulfilled his mother's expectation by sending her back to the hotel for rest. He wandered outside alone, was forced into an anti-war rally, and, by chance, invited to speak on stage. He was about to share his battlefield tales when he noticed a soldier in the audience yanking the microphone cord. The staff promptly detected the issue and reconnected the power supply in time, and coincidentally, Forrest's speech came to an end at the very moment. Fortunately, I was present there, and those were Forrest's exact words. "Sometimes when people go to Vietnam, they come back legless or don't come back at all. That's just awful." The host was just as shocked, and Forrest, the newly minted war hero, got a taste of the anti-war leader spotlight. In front of thousands of witnesses, Forrest found his true love again, and Jenny introduced her friend to him. But her new boyfriend showed Forrest the puppy rule as a welcome, igniting Forrest's fury, and he charged at the guy, pinning him down. After being driven away, she still defended him, and Forrest took the opportunity to express his love, but unfortunately, he received no response. For all those years, Jenny had been on the road, chasing after her version of freedom, and they talked the night away. Subtitle: But ultimately, Jenny still chose to depart, and Forrest presented her with his medal. However, her leaving was an arrangement of fate, given that they had always been fundamentally incompatible. She was one of the anti-war movement's front-runners, while Forrest was a decorated war hero. They were destined to miss each other. Forrest returned as soldier, amazing vets with his ping-pong skills in USA diplomacy. As Forrest's fame rose, media invited him on stage with John Lennon after he met Lieutenant Dan. Now, Lieutenant Dan resembled a drifter, surviving on welfare, seeking alcohol daily, and blaming life's injustice. Coincidentally, it was Christmas Eve, and Forrest took him to a bar to celebrate. Dan mentioned he and Bubba had a deal to buy a boat for shrimping after the war. Now that Bubba was gone, Forrest became the captain, vowing he'd buy a boat when he made some cash. Dan scoffed, mocking Forrest's boast, and joked he'd be first mate if Forrest became captain. Dan brought over 2 girls to keep Forrest company, but they mocked him for being a fool, infuriating Dan, who promptly booted them. Forrest attempted to help fallen Dan, but was rejected. Dan hated Forrest yet couldn't bear others mistreating him, refusing to be called a dog's backside.